Lesson number 2, Worship of Jesus. In our second lesson from Matthew chapter 2, we learn of the wise men that came from the east to find the baby born to be king, and to worship him. We cannot be certain how these men discovered information about the birth of Jesus and how they knew he was to be a king, but undoubtedly God blessed them with this knowledge, because these men desired to know and worship the true King sent from heaven. Herod and all Jerusalem were troubled when they heard this news of another king. They likely wondered who this king could be, and how would this affect them and their nation. Herod certainly did not want any threat to his own position as king, and so gave orders to kill all the young male children in the region around where he thought this future king might be. It is typical of men who have been given authority and a position of power to use their power to protect their own interest and to put down any possible opponents. Sadly, this is the way most of humanity lives, with an interest in self-promotion and greed. But there are those who genuinely seek after what is good, just as the wise men saw in that little baby a great king, and were not threatened by the thoughts of his greatness or authority to rule over men. Because they were humble in their hearts, and also sought to honor the one whom God honors, they brought their gifts and worship before this young child. We would not expect grown men to bow before a young child, but in this unique case, these men recognized that this was no ordinary child, but was destined to rule over men. Although Herod was ready to kill the baby born to be king, he was not able to harm this child, for God in his sovereignty was watching over Jesus. He spoke to Joseph in a dream, warning him to take the baby and his mother and flee to Egypt. This teaches us that while man makes his own plans, he will never be able to resist the plans of God. God rules over all, and when all is said and done, God will have the last word, and his will shall be accomplished. It is best to submit to God now, for it is just foolishness to try and resist God's authority. Pharaoh tried to resist God's authority and lost his country, army, his son, and reputation. King Nebuchadnezzar imagined that it was by his own power and greatness that he ruled, and God judged him, causing him to act as a madman, eating grass like an ox. Herod tried to destroy God's chosen king, and died a horrible death. There is no authority that can resist God, so it is only wisdom to submit to God's authority before we also are judged. I wonder if you recognize that Jesus is destined to reign as king. Have you surrendered yourself to his rule over your life, or are you like King Herod and the people of Jerusalem, and troubled by the news that someone else wants to rule over you? Pride in our hearts and our sinful nature cause men and women to refuse to submit to this king, because they want to rule over their own lives. If you are afraid to come to Jesus for fear that you will have to submit to his ways and to his rules, then you are just like Herod and the others who want to kill and destroy any threat to your own plans and pleasures. Perhaps you love your sin too much to give room for this good man to rule over your life. Jesus was taken to Nazareth, where he grew up in a despised town, because he was not received with gladness by the people of Israel. Are you like those wise men who saw in Jesus the future king, and were ready to follow and worship him? Or are you more like Herod and the people who rejected the idea of someone coming to rule over them and change their comfortable lives? My advice to you is not to be like the crowd who want to rule over their own lives and enjoy their sin, but be wise and seek out Jesus as the true King of your life. Seek him, adore him, and worship him. for he most certainly will be the ruler and king in a coming day. May the Lord help you to submit to the true King as you consider this verse from Psalm 2. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and you perish in the way, when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all those who put their trust in him. Psalm 2, verse 12.